प्रातः स्मरामि हृदि संस्फुरदात्मतत्त्वं सच्चित्सुखं परमहंसगतिं तुरीयम् यत्स्वप्नजागरसुषुप्तमवैति नित्यं तद्ब्रह्म निष्कलमहं न च भूतसङ्गः तपोभिक्षीणपापानां शान्तानां वीतरागिणां मुमुक्षूणामपेक्षोऽयम् आत्मबोधो विधीयते बोधोऽन्यसाधनेभ्यो हि साक्षान्मोक्षैकसाधनं पाकस्य वह्निवज्ञानं विना मोक्षो न सिद्ध्यति. We'll chant chapter 6. Chapter 6 verses 5 to 9. Chapter 6 verses 5 to 9. Come उद्धरेदात्मनात्मानं नात्मानमवसादयेत् आत्मैव ह्यात्मनो बन्धुः आत्मैव रिपुरात्मनः उद्धरेदात्मनात्मानं नात्मानमवसादयेत् आत्मैव ह्यात्मनो बन्धुः आत्मैव रिपुरात्मनः बन्धुरात्मात्मनस्तस्य येनात्मैवात्मना जितः अनात्मनस्तु शत्रुत्वे वर्तेतात्मैव शत्रुवत् बन्धुरात्मानस्तस्य येनात्मैवात्मना जितः अनात्मनस्तु शत्रुत्वे वर्तेतात्मैव शत्रुवत् जितात्मनः प्रशान्तस्य परमात्मा समाहितः शीतोष्णसुखदुःखेषु तथा मानापमात्मयोः जितात्मनः प्रशान्तस्य परमात्मा समाहितः शीतोष्णसुखदुःखेषु तथा मानापमानयोः ज्ञानविज्ञानतृप्तात्मा कूटस्थो विजितेन्द्रियः युक्तः इत्युच्यते योगी समलोष्टाश्मकाञ्चनः ज्ञानविज्ञानतृप्तात्मा कूटस्थो विजितेन्द्रियः युक्त इत्युच्यते योगी समलोष्टाश्मकाञ्चनः सुहृन्मित्रार्युदासीनम् अध्यस्ते द्वेषबन्धुषु साधुष्वपि च पापेषु समबुद्धिर्विशिष्यते सुहृन्मित्रार्युदासीनम् अध्यस्तद्वेष्य बन्धुषु साधुष्वपि च पापेषु समबुद्धिर्विशिष्यते. समबुद्धिर्विशिष्यते. Hari Om, everyone.
Hari Om, sir.
Hari Om, sir.
Hari Om, sir.
Hari Om.
Hari Om.
Hari Om.
Welcome home.
Hari Om.
Thank you, thank you. I got back early this morning, so I might be a little jet lagged, but all good. Okay, let's start with questions. Are there any questions? Yes, Rashmiji.
So while reading the chapters, I was coming through something called, it said that the intellect can control the mind through sustained practice and dispassion. There's a statement here in the beginning of the chapter when there's an introduction in 5, the point 5. So it's written that the intellect can control the mind through sustained practice and dispassion. So what would you mean understand by dispassion? And plus, like the sankalp, when it's written that the sankalp is a desire lava. So how does being dispassionate help in that also?
Where is this other line, Sankalpa?
Sankalp is in
One,
verse 2. Verse 2.
Oh, we are taking from the verses, okay.
Yeah, it's in the verses.
What is the line you are asking?
So in 5, in the point 5, in the introduction of the chapter.
No. In verse 2, what are you asking?
Okay, so it's verse 2 is, they are saying like generally when we take sankalp for any yagya or anything, we do sankalp. So how is that also correlated with this sankalp? Is it correlated? And how does this being dispassionate help in sankalp also? Like how does it? How do we go on a journey with, like, how do we reduce sankalp by being dispassionate?
Okay. Good question, particularly the second one, because whenever you do a yagya, the purohit, the pujari will say, "Aap inka sankalp kariye, aap ye sankalp kariye." So what does it mean out here when he says, "None indeed becomes a yogi without pronouncing sankalpa," right? And the other question was about Krishna assures Arjuna that the intellect can control the mind through sustained practice and dispassion. So what is dispassion in particular? Okay, I'll answer the second question first because that's what we've covered. The first question you asked around section 5, we'll touch upon, and then but we will come to it later anyway. So once again, he's talking about who is a yogi, who is a sannyasi, what's the meaning of a sannyasi. Anashrita karma phalam karyam karma karutiya. One who does their bounden duty, one who does what they ought to do based on their roles and responsibilities. Such a person is a sannyasi. Whether they've received sannyas or not, whether they've got diksha or not. So just by getting diksha, you don't automatically become a sannyasi. If you're not qualifying for this criteria, which is doing what you're supposed to do, right? And in any other stage of life, you can also live like a sannyasi. You can also embody the values of a sannyasi. You can also get yourself on the path of sannyas, even though you may not be formally qualified, if you're able to do what you're supposed to do. So here he says, none indeed becomes a yogi, becomes a sannyasi without renouncing sankalpa. This word pronounces the fundamental requirement for a yogi to start his spiritual pilgrimage. None can follow the spiritual path without giving up his sankalpa for material and sensual world. So, first and foremost, what is sankalp? He is already qualifying it by sankalp for the material and sensual world. आप संकल्प करिए कि आपके घर में धन आए. You'll be blessed with all these Diwali messages. May you be blessed with health, wealth, prosperity. People are finding ways to copy paste and send the same message. Health, wealth, prosperity. And if you want to sound fancy, may the light shine through your life, and God knows what the light will do to you. What is it? It's a sankalp for your material well-being. When I'm saying material well-being, I'm talking about physical, emotional, right? Family, everything. All of it is part of the material world. That's all well and good. That's all well and good. But the path of yoga truly starts when you inquire what is beyond my material pleasures, what is beyond my material desires. That's really when the journey of yoga starts. And that's really what helps you transcend, right? We're calling this the transcendental philosophy. We call it enlightenment. That's really what helps you transcend your thought, going beyond the material, inquiring about what's beyond just birth, growth, decay, death, what's beyond just pleasure and pain, what's beyond just wealth and health. That inquiry beyond what the material world and the sensual world has to offer, that inquiry is what will help you on your spiritual journey. That inquiry is what will help you materialize, funnily, your spiritual goal. So, the human mind continuously erupts with a lava of desires. You and I are nothing but
desires.
you and I are nothing but a bundle of desires at different stage of our life. When we're a child, we have child desires. When we're a youth, we have youth desires. When we're an adult, we have adult desires. When you're an old person, we have old person desires. It's nothing but it's a continuous. We're a volcano filled with desires, which is constantly erupting, constantly desiring, wishing, planning, scheming, acquiring to acquire and enjoy more and more of the world. I'm very happy. Thank you. You're happy when what you are wanting to acquire, you get some of it, right? That's what people say, I'm happy. Most of our happiness is, in fact, all of our happiness is conditional. Why? Because we have sort of gotten what we wanted. Not only is this happiness conditional, because tomorrow if circumstances change, your happiness will be completely destroyed, but it's also temporary, because things are bound to change. And it is temporary because you'll grow tired of what you have. You'll want more. So for all these reasons, this sankalpa is never ending. It's a constant desiring, wishing, planning. Right? So this is what is defining a sankalpa, your obsession with the material world. Where will it end? So when you conceive of a possibility beyond just material pleasure, beyond health, wealth, power, name, fame, family, pleasure, whatever, all these things we are usually preoccupied with. When your mind posits the possibility of an experience beyond this, posits the possibility of a goal beyond this, that is forsaking sankalpa. A yogi forsakes sankalpa, and that is the springboard to a higher spiritual achievement, right? So none becomes a yogi without renouncing your preoccupation with the material world. That's what he means. Your preoccupation with mundane matters. Does that make sense? Okay. And the second question, which we'll come to later in the chapter, but this is section 5. So, again, any chapter is broken up into sections, not in the original text, but by the author. And in fact, in different commentaries of the Gita, you'll find a different sort of division, because there are some nuances that different authors try to bring about. But in this particular text, which we are studying by Swami Parthasarathy, he has divided this chapter into 6 sections. The 5th section, which comes later in the chapter, in around the 35th verse, is where Arjuna asks, hey, Krishna, all of this is well and good. You're talking about yogi, sannyasi, mind control, this, that, sankalpa. But I don't think the mind can be controlled. It's very hard. And a very practical admission of Arjuna, wherein he says that all of this is good for a Sunday morning Gita class. But when push comes to shove, as they say in English, when shit hits the fan, the mind goes for a toss. I don't think the mind can be controlled. And therein the Lord assures Arjuna that yes, what you're saying is absolutely right. It's not easy. And nobody said it was easy. But you've been given a tool which is called the buddhi. The buddhi is your trump card. The buddhi is your tool which, if you harness, if you cultivate, it can help control the mind. The buddhi is that tool with which you think, reason, judge, decide, direct the mind. It's like an adult that's holding the hand of the child while you are crossing the road. Right? Any road is any challenge that the world presents, and the intellect holds the mind's hand. It's that guide, that support. And what does the intellect need to be cultivated? You cultivate it with knowledge. You cultivate it with reflection. You cultivate it with thinking and making decisions. It's a muscle that grows with use. You use it to make decisions and stand by your own decisions. Learn from your experiences. Measure the pros and cons. Try to understand the consequences of things. Reflect on your own feelings. All of these things are what the intellect does. And you're meant to use it. That's how it strengthens. That's how you understand the nuances of the intellect. So when you do this, through sustained practice of utilizing the intellect, and dispassion. What is dispassion? Dispassion is that relative renunciation that develops in you as you grow in knowledge. As you grow in wisdom, you, for example, today as an adult, you are dispassionate about the world of toys and games. It doesn't mean you don't care about it. It doesn't mean you'll tell your child, don't play with toys and games, they're useless. You understand that toys and games are for children. You understand that they have their place, but you have no interest in them. So that's a state of dispassion. Can you reach that same state when it comes to wealth, when it comes to name, fame, when it comes to relationships? Can you reach that state of dispassion? Indeed you can. Indeed you can. When you learn to see things the way they are, sometimes, and Swamiji used to say this, and I totally resonate with it today, that it's very paradharmic, it's very strange for him to think about people's problems. And this is not to belittle others' problems, once you have found the solution to a problem, it no longer remains a problem for you. Okay? Which is why in the beginning of the Bhagavad Gita, when Arjuna was going through his meltdown, there's a moment where they say Krishna was smiling. He's smiling because he knew the predicament that Arjuna was in, and he knew the solution to it. Now, would Arjuna understand the solution? That's a totally different thing. When you have dispassion, you know. But so long as you're not dispassionate, so long as you're swimming in the mess, it seems like a unsurmountable mountain. It seems like an extremely difficult thing to endure. So as you grow in dispassion, you're able to face the knocks and shocks of life. You're able to see things as they are. And that's when you won't allow your mind to get needlessly disturbed. You won't allow your mind to get unsettled beyond the point. Right? It's not 0 or 100. It happens it's gradual. But with gradual dispassion and a sustained practice of utilizing the intellect, this mind, this thing which seems to be so bubbly and impossible to keep in place, can be controlled. Right? That's what he's saying. And we'll come to that section later in this chapter. Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Any other questions?
Sir,
Okay.
isn't it very demoralizing? None can follow the spiritual path without giving up his sankalp for material and sensual world. Sir, in the earlier paragraph, it's written he needs to follow the path of action to exhaust his vasanas. So if I'm doing all that, but still I have desires for material world, so that will not go on day one. It will go very slowly. First, I have to be on the right path. As you say that we catch up the higher thing, so we go on the path of karma yoga, and slowly, maybe automatically we will start having dispassion towards sensual and material world. But then why does it write and none can follow the spiritual path?
See, he's talking about taking it up seriously. It's like, you want your child to become a cricketer. You can play cricket for fun and you'll even enjoy the pleasure of cricket if you're playing for fun also. But to take it up seriously, you'll need to make several changes in your life. So even the same holds for you and me. We can take up spiritual ideas and maybe benefit from them, enjoy the pleasure of their guidance, even while we are completely absorbed in our life, right? But to get a deeper and a more serious and sustained transformation of the spiritual journey, you'll have to make this it's like a change of gears. Otherwise, 30 years later, you'll be asking me the same question. You'll go back happy today and maybe, make some enjoy the fruits of what you're listening to today, but it will not really bring about a permanent change in you. Right? So, it really matters on, don't be so demoralized. He's not saying you have to turn everything upside down. He's only indicating of a mental shift that you have to make if you want to take this journey seriously. And what is the mental shift? He's not asking you to leave everything. I explained what does it mean to give up sankalpa. You give up anything only by taking up something higher. So focus on taking up that something higher. Focus on that spirit of inquiry. Focus on trying to cultivate that sense of inquiry into the unknown. Right? Automatically the lower sankalpa will be taken care of. Right? So, which is why, See, when you go to the Upanishads, they won't walk on eggshells. They'll say direct. It'll be very demoralizing for you. ये तो होगा ही नहीं. Which is why we study the Bhagavad Gita. Once in a while, he says something as sweeping as this. Otherwise, he's very careful. Oh, Yasho is going to be reading this. Let me not demoralize him. Let me put it as positively as possible. Uh, so, yes, once in a while, the Gita ji says something like this, a sweeping statement, which is true, right? But that doesn't mean we are unqualified, right? There are different stages of sort of the seriousness of the spiritual journey, and if you wish to become more and more serious, you will have to, rise up to it, as I would say, right? Whatever you need to fix your life today, whatever you need to fix your life today, you already have. For that, you don't have to make any major changes. Whatever problems you're going through today, you don't have to make any sweeping changes in your life and goals to necessarily address today, right? So it's not that it's a gradual process of taking up something higher, taking up something. It's incremental. It's all not all or nothing, right? Okay. So we didn't do verse number 4, is it? I thought we did verse number 4. Okay. Okay, verse number 4. So in 3 we talked about a beautiful verse which we've been reiterating again and again. A seeker who wishes to master yoga should perform action, and a seeker who is already established in yoga should remain quiet. On this journey, on the spiritual path, yoga and sannyas are 2 different stages. When you're established in yoga, you become a sannyasi. But to become established in yoga, you must take up karma bhakti jnana, action. So for a seeker who is an initiate, a beginner on this journey, and funnily enough, you're truly evolved only if you think of yourself as a beginner. So you'll never give up action. You'll never give up your karma bhakti jnana. For a seeker who wishes to master yoga, who's a beginner, action is said to be the means. And once you're established, you automatically become quiet. You won't have to force yourself to become quiet today. Once you're established, as you grow spiritually, you become more and more quiet. You turn more and more meditative. For such a person who is established, meditation is said to be the means. Okay, verse number 4. Yada hinendriyartheshu na karmasvanusajjate sarva sankalpa sannyasi yogarudhastadochyate. Yada hinendriyartheshu na karmasvanusajjate sarva sankalpa sannyasi yogarudhastadochyate. Okay. When a man is not attached either to sense objects or actions and has renounced all sankalpas to sense objects and actions, then he is said to be established in yoga. So since the 5th chapter he's talking about yoga and sannyas, and we've been giving you that diagram of the gradual growth from bhogi to yogi to sannyasi to jnani. Now in the previous verse he talked about yoga rudha. In the verse number 3 he said, one who is a yoga rudha, one who has attained yoga, yoga rudhasya. Use this term, yoga rudha. So are you yoga rudha is the question. So who is a yoga rudha? In this verse he talks about who exactly is a yoga rudha. So one who is wishing to become a yoga rudha, for them action is said to be the means, and for one who is already a yoga rudha, meditation, quietude is said to be the means. Now a question arises, who is a yoga rudha? So he says, when a man is not attached to either sense objects or actions and has renounced all sankalpas, such a person is a yoga rudha. Established in yoga means yoga rudha. So a person is a yoga rudha when he is attached neither to sense objects nor to the actions. There is no bhoktritva bhavna, there is no kartritva bhavna. Attachment to action is kartritva bhavna. Attachment to sense objects is the attachment to enjoy them, gain pleasure from them, bhoktritva bhavna. And renounced all sankalpas. So in the beginning of this class, we talked about what does it mean to renounce sankalpas. It means to give up your preoccupation, your obsession with the material world. As you grow in knowledge, you automatically renounce sankalpas. As you open yourself up to the possibility of a bigger world. Today, your life, my life, we are living it literally till the tip of our nose. We are swimming in our own created problems. We create a mountain of a molehill. Someone didn't say something, someone didn't do something, someone said something, something didn't happen. And we want others to listen to us. You don't realize they are going through the same problem. And it's a drama, kahani ghar ghar ki. And it's no big deal. All worry is tantamount to why is a lily not an oak? All worry is tantamount to why is a lily not an oak? All the problems you're going through is tantamount to you're expecting something to be different than what it is. Why is a lily not an oak? You don't see things as they are. You have expectations from others which you're not supposed to have because you see them the way you want to see them rather than what they are. And you're nothing but a bundle of desires, constantly wishing and wanting. It's a self-created mess, a bundle of sankalpas. But as you grow, as the canvas of your own knowledge grows, as you experience it from time to time, when you hear something profound, when you hear something transformational, maybe if I often say, if you read about the solar system, immediately it gives you a momentary lapse of concern. You almost seem to forget all the mess that you're in. Or if you go to, I had the pleasure of I was in Barcelona till yesterday. I had the pleasure of going to Antoni Gaudi's, some of his works. So he was an architect, a lover of beauty, and he used to, of course, he's the one who has designed the famous cathedral it's not a cathedral, I learned. The famous, what do you call it? If it's not a cathedral, then what is it? It's a church, I guess, in Barcelona called La Sagrada Familia. Still under construction for over 100 years. And then he was also like an architect for the wealthy in the society of Barcelona. So he created some beautiful houses. But when you see the thought and the beauty that's gone into it. So what I'm saying is whenever you see something that's created with love and beauty, you seem to forget your little problems. You get immersed in that wonder. So the more you grow in your awareness of the expanse of this universe, the mystery of life, the depth of beauty, anything that's profound, as you preoccupy your thought with the profound, you automatically turn dispassionate towards the mundane. So it's a choice you make, and it's a gradual change that happens in you. You will turn disinterested in unnecessary things, unnecessary talks. You'll be able to take it in from one ear and take it out of the other. Most of us find it difficult to take in things from one ear and take it out of the other. We get stuck with it. Why? Because there's nothing else to keep us absorbed. If we take up something higher to keep us absorbed, All these things won't matter. So, one who has renounced these sankalpas, one who is swimming in a consciousness of the profound, one who has filled himself with the higher thoughts of life, such a person is established in yoga. Such a person is established in yoga. Such a person is qualified for meditation. Now you may say, no one is helping me on this. There's so many problems. How do I go through this? It's impossible. It's so demoralizing. You will always have a bucket list of laundry list, sorry, not bucket list, a laundry list of excuses. Or, but the Lord says it clearly in verse number 5. It's your business. It's your responsibility. You are your own responsibility. Things don't work out for them. People change their gods also. Why should God? Have you paid God a retainer to take care of you? What is your God bill for this month? You are your own responsibility. You must lift yourself by yourself. You make yourself, you mar yourself. And you've been given everything that you need. You've been given everything that you need to take care of yourself. There's nothing that you are lacking. Verse number 5, very inspiring verse. Uddharedatmanatmanam natmanam avasadayet atmaiva yatmano bandhuhu atmaiva ripuratmanaha uddharedatmanatmanam natmanam avasadayet atmaiva yatmano bandhuhu atmaiva ripuratmanaha. Let man lift himself by himself, let him not lower himself. His self alone is his friend, his self alone is his enemy. Please understand this. Your life is your business, your life is your responsibility. That doesn't mean you can't take help from others. That doesn't mean you should be, totally abstain from taking help and support from others. But that's what it should be. It should just be support. You must try to stand up by yourself. Throughout the world, people are suffering, and a large part of their suffering is because they believe that because of something someone else is doing or not doing, they are being left behind. We're choosing to be dependent. The funny thing is that the moment you think about it, you will realize you've exaggerated your own dependence on things. You actually don't need 99% of the things you think you need. You don't. You've created this illusion of dependence. You've been gifted this beautiful equipment called the intellect, with which you must think, reason, judge, decide, analyze, assess, with which you must guide the mind. You've been given this beautiful tool called the mind, with which to feel the highest of feelings, the most divine of feelings, a mind which can, with its inspiration, lift you to great heights. It's all about how you use it. You've been given this beautiful equipment called the body, with which you can perform actions, with which you can take ownership of yourself. So on the spiritual journey, this value of self-sufficiency is very important. That doesn't mean that you think you don't need anyone else. No. That sincere attempt to take care of yourself, that is what it is. Of course, if someone else is supporting you and being conscious of the contribution of others, because there'll always be contribution of others. You can't take care of yourself. That's the truth. You can't take care of yourself without the support of others. That's the truth. But within yourself, you must make that earnest attempt to take responsibility for yourself. They're two different things. So an attitude of gratitude for the contribution of everything around you in sustaining you, and simultaneously that ownership, that responsibility, that with everything that is given to me, I must lift myself by myself. No one is going to come and lift me, and no one else is responsible for me. If you have this attitude, yourself is your friend. If you have this attitude in life, you are your friend. If you don't have this attitude in life, you are your biggest enemy. You will make wrong choices. You will bring upon suffering onto yourself. At the level of the body, you will suffer. At the level of the mind, you will suffer. You will get into unnecessary entangles. You will have the wrong attitude in your relationships. And that will be you calling your own destruction. 99% of 100% of problems you're going through. And we're not blaming anyone. We're analyzing. Right? We're analyzing. It's not what the other does. It's the way in which we relate to things that causes problems. So let man lift himself by himself. Uddhared atmana atmanam. Uttishta bharata. Lift yourself, Bharata. Uddhared atmana atmanam. Your growth is your choice. Verse number 6. बन्धुरात्मात्मनस्त्स्य येनात्मैवात्मना जितः अनात्मनस्तु शत्रुत्वे वर्तेतात्मैव शत्रुवत्. बन्धुरात्मात्मनस्तस्य येनात्मैवात्मना जितः अनात्मनस्तु शत्रुत्वे वर्तेतात्मैव शत्रुवत्. For him who has conquered his self, the self is his friend, but for him who has not conquered the self verily becomes hostile, like an enemy. So, for a person who has conquered himself means one who is taking ownership, taking responsibility, one who is a master of their mind and not a slave of their mind, one who listens and cares, but at the same time is in control and directs. One who doesn't give in to the impulses that the senses and the mind present. One who doesn't give in to the tantalizing attraction of lower thoughts. See, we've said it before. You can't control what circumstances you are in. You can't control what thoughts come up in your own mind. You can't control what feelings come up in your own mind. You can't. What you can control is what you do with those circumstances. What you can control is what you do with those feelings. What you can control is what you do with those thoughts. If you are feeding unnecessary thoughts, if you are cultivating and promoting unnecessary feelings, if you are sitting back and complaining about circumstances, then you have not conquered yourself. One who has conquered himself means one who is acutely aware of perception, emotion, and thought, and one who is acutely conscious of what to allow and what not to allow. That's it. If you've reached that state, you have, to a fair degree, you have conquered yourself. And for such a person, the self is his friend. You become your best friend, you become your best cheerleader, you become your best support, and you won't need anything else. On the contrary, if you have not conquered yourself, and what does that mean? That means being a victim of one's circumstance, being a victim of one's mind's impulses, being a victim of one's sensual desires. And that's what desires are. That's what desires do to a person. If you allow them, it's like you give them an inch, they'll take a foot. Right? That's why desire has been personified as the devil. Not because there is something inherently, bad about it. No. But if you allow it an inch without a conscious awareness, it'll take a foot. And if you give it a foot, it'll take a yard. If you give it a yard, it'll take a mile. Before you know, you lose control. And so you caught your own distraction. You become hostile like an enemy. This is true at the physical level. This is true at the material level. Wealth by itself is not a problem. But 99% of people are having problems because of wealth. Why? Because they don't know how to relate to it. They don't know how to manage it. They have not conquered wealth. So wealth is the enemy. Their wealth is the enemy. Same with their health. Their health can be the biggest boon. But for those who haven't conquered it, it's a bane. You're suffering. Your own body is suffering. The same is true for your mind. If you conquer your mind, it can be the best tool that can elevate your life in unimaginable ways. But for you and me, for most of us, our minds have completely destroyed us. Our minds soaked in attachment, our minds soaked in lower feelings and lower emotions have completely sucked out the joy of life. So how do you cultivate yourself is the question. If you conquer yourself is your friend. But if you do not, if you are not able to take responsibility and lift yourself, this very same self is your biggest enemy. Then you don't need enemies. Then you don't need enemies. Your own mind will work against you. Your own intellect will work, your own body will work against you. Okay, verse number 7. जितात्मनः प्रशान्तस्य परमात्मा समाहितः शीतोष्णसुखदुःखेषु तथा मानापमानयोः जितात्मनः प्रशान्तस्य परमात्मा समाहितः शीतोष्णसुखदुःखेषु तथा मानापमानयोः. The Supreme One, who is self-controlled and peaceful, is balanced in cold and heat, in pleasure and pain, in honor and dishonor. Okay, so one who takes responsibility for themselves, one who lifts themselves by themselves, one who establishes themselves on the path of yoga, they become the Supreme One. Right? So who is the Supreme One? One who does all the things right in verse number 4, 5, 6. One who does the right things in verse number 4, 5, 6 and becomes established in yoga. One who lifts themselves by themselves. They become self-controlled and peaceful. Prashanta. Shanti is peace. Prashanti is unimaginable peace. The lecture hall in the Vedanta Academy was called Prashant. You would enter there and there would be silence hanging in the air. I still remember. Sometimes when you would go to the lecture hall, and there would be nothing around. That hanging silence. It was truly Prashanta. So, one who is self controlled and peaceful. At least, peace will not be a problem for you. Huh? But for that, you'll have to become the Supreme One. You'll have to do everything right in 4, 5, 6. Such a person who is balanced in cold and heat, pleasure and pain, honor and dishonor. The opposites at every level, be it material, physical, emotional, intellectual, honor and dishonor, pleasure and pain, cold and heat, wealth and poverty, whatever it is. Balanced means unaffected by either. So this is what develops in you when you become the Supreme One. Right? Such a person is balanced at all levels, is sama. You become equanimous because you're independent. You become equanimous because you're independent. And this is very difficult for you and me to understand while we are dependent. But if this thought inspires you, I want to become independent, then get on to this journey. Then take up a higher sankalpa. Give up your lower sankalpa. Establish yourself on this and you will be taken care of. In fact, you will take care of yourself. That's the beauty. With that thought, we'll conclude today. And we'll see you again day after tomorrow. So we don't have that much time to... we will meet soon. So we'll come back with questions. But thank you so much for joining out of schedule. I appreciate it. And glad to be back. And we'll see you shortly on Tuesday. Have a good day.
So we should appreciate now you came just this morning and you're doing the class.
Yes, and I'm going to go back to sleep now, I think. Jet lag is catching up with me. So
Thank you, sir. Hari Om, sir.
Hari Om. Okay.